Cinemajaw is brought to you by Busy Beaver Buttons. Are you looking for a sustainable supplier for custom buttons, magnets, or stickers? Busy Beaver Button Company is it. Order from a local, woman-owned, solar-powered business. Visit busybeaver.net to shop, and we thank them for their support. You're listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location at Cards Against Humanity in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is...
Rye the Movie Guy, and sitting inside the fish tank is Filmy and Phil.
How's it going, guys?
This week on Cinemajaw, Matt, we come together.
We get back together.
We get back together as a team and cover our top 5 favorite movie reunions.
We don't have to have reunions, right? Because I see you every week. It's like clockwork.
Don't remind me.
I know.
But a good reunion, Matt, can sometimes bring tears.
Or laughs.
Right?
Good times, bad times.
We are covering our top 5 reunions in film because the review this week has a big reunion.
That's right. It sure does.
So we thought this is a good time to do it. So Jawheads, get thinking right now of movie reunions. These could be taking place all in one film, or maybe they're separated by a couple of films and then come back together. We'll see.
Yeah, we had fun with this genre, if you will.
We did. We have a great guest who's going to be joining us to help us with that list as well.
Yes, we do. John Mossman from the Harold Ramis Film School is here. He's going to tell us all about what's going on over there at Harold Ramis.
Can't wait. I mean, we've had some guests on previously from the Harold Ramis Film School, but it's been a while.
It's been a while. Time for an update. Fantastic resource here in the city. So
it is. Besides that, we have even more going on. Right, Phil?
Oh, you know what, Ryan? We also are going to be going eye for an eye on the Goldfinch tonight.
And we are reviewing It, Chapter 2.
Nice. Plus, Nicole Kidman is in the Goldfinch, and it is Nicole Kidman month here on Cinemajaw.
Wow, that lined up.
So I thought this is a good time for Matt to take John on in Nicole Kidman Costar trivia.
Oh, Jesus, man.
So I'm going to give you Nicole Kidman and the movie, and you're going to tell me the leading co-star alongside.
Or not, as the case may be.
That is going to be fun. In addition to that, Matt, we've been having fun with Hollywood headlines.
We have. Let's keep it rolling.
So we will get to some Hollywood headlines. They include some Kristen Stewart and also maybe It Chapter 3. We'll see.
Nice. Okay.
It's a pretty good tease, I think.
I think so. Let's get into this thing.
Yes. As we mentioned, it is Nicole Kidman month here on Cinemajaw all month of September. Let's start it off with the fact, Phil.
Yes, today's Nicole Kidman fact comes from the making of Eyes Wide Shut. The film is notoriously known for its secrecy during production, and the secrecy even divided between the two main stars, Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. To exaggerate the distrust between their fictional husband and wife characters, Stanley Kubrick, who he directed each actor separately, and he forbid them to share different acting notes. In one painful example, just for 1 minute of the final footage where Alice makes love to a handsome naval officer, an imaginary affair that haunts Bill over the course of the film, Kubrick demanded that Kidman shoot 6 days of naked sex scenes with the male model. Not only did he ask the pair to pose in over 50 positions, he banned Cruise from the set and forbade Kidman to assuage her husband's tension by telling him what happened during the shoot.
Boy, that Stanley Kubrick was like a mastermind with this stuff.
I don't know if that's a mastermind. It sounds like maybe an evil mastermind.
A madman.
Yeah, seriously.
But you get to see that brilliance on screen.
Yeah, that's not one of his better ones.
Oh, I like that one. And the whole drive of that movie is definitely that contingency of, Tom Cruise not knowing what's happening and that jealous rage that he's in.
Yeah, I guess. But they call it acting for a reason. You don't actually have to put people through hell, Kubrick. But who am I to question Kubrick, I guess?
Wow.
I mean, famously made Shelley Duvall almost have a nervous breakdown on the set of The Shining. So I guess it works. Sounds a little extreme.
Speaking of extreme, Matt.
Yeah?
Let's talk the Harold Ramis Film School.
All right. Great segue, Ryan.
Yes, our guest, first-time guest on Cinemajaw here is John Mossman, works over at the Harold Ramis Film School. John, welcome to Cinemajaw.
Hello. Nice to be here.
You have been with the Harold Ramis Film School since it started?
That is correct. I think, about 4 years now. Yeah, 3-4 years.
Yeah, and we had on, we were just talking before we turned on the mics, Trevor and Jack, right around when it first got started. So how are things going?
They're going great. Those two fellows are as wonderful as ever, and everything seems to be going along swimmingly from what I'm seeing. As what I'm a part of, I love it. It's a great place.
So the school is actually attached to Second City.
Yes, it is. It is the only film school in the world dedicated exclusively to comedy, and that's one of its what it's
So what's one of the differences that the school that would be just dedicated to comedy would be as opposed to going to any other film school? Something that separates it.
Yeah, it most notedly just it embraces the aesthetic, the collaborative and ensemble aesthetic that is known to Second City most specifically. So when you get into it, you have, there's basically like three arms. There's the comedy theory, and that involves just studying comedy, studying the improvisational sort of history and learning about improv. And then there's storytelling and learning how to develop your comedic voice, and then there's a filmmaking arm, and those are basically the three main areas. And you do this all within a year, and at the end of that year, you make an actual film. And some of them are really pretty badass.
Nice.
Pretty good.
Where do they screen then at? Do you have like one of those where you get like a whole show together and you get to see these films?
Oh, man, they have this tremendous screening at the ArcLight every year, at the end of the year.
Okay,
Yeah,
because that's not
great.
far from the Second City. It's in the same neighborhood.
Right, it's right around the corner, and it's pretty posh. It's very nice.
Oh, it's a beautiful theater.
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful theater, and it's really thrilling to see their work up there. Like 1 year after they showed up, all bright-eyed from all around different parts of the world, coming from all these different backgrounds. They're all different ages, just anywhere from between 18 and, into their 40s. People all come together, and they make films together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
And so what is your position with the Harold Ramis Film School?
I specifically teach directing and the filmmaking part. So I teach them how to communicate with actors, how to stage their work, how to communicate with members of their crew, producers, and just really tangible, when the wheels hit the road, making your film.
Are you teaching them any of that Kubrickian concept?
I gotta say, I don't know that it really works with the theory there, but he's my favorite filmmaker.
He is
so
top
I think
for me
some of it probably leaks in, but I'm not sure. Making your actors cry and have a nervous breakdown is really part of the program.
So what I really wanted to ask was, I'm interested that you said you're more on the filmmaking side, because obviously with comedy, the writing and the storytelling, I get that. I get what sets that apart from other genres and storytelling modes. But what about the filmmaking? Like, how do you make a comedy film differently? How is it made different from like an action or a horror movie or a drama?
Well, humor is interesting because it's pretty individual, So if it makes people laugh, you're making a comedy. But there's a lot of different ways to do it. There's a lot of tricks. I mean, there's just basic shtick that you have to hopefully have a command of, just, basic things like clever ways to enter and exit frame. I like watching Barry right now because I think Barry's tone is great, and the way that they shoot is simultaneously cinematic.
What is that? Is that a TV show?
Yeah, it's a TV show.
Okay.
Barry's
With Bill Hader,
I'm
of
not
all
familiar.
people,
Oh,
that
just
we
saw
just
him.
saw in
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So, and so there's a lot of ways that you can shoot something that just, even in a drama, like you can get a laugh just by nature of the way that you shoot it. But, there's a lot of interesting, there's different styles of comedy. Some people come in just completely fans of Edgar Wright, and others come in just fans of stuff that is done on YouTube. And so the comedic voices are so varied. The idea is to just try to develop those so they're individual. So there's not one particular way of doing it, but I encourage piling on a lot of jokes. Get as many in there as you can, and you kind of see it when you get in the screenings. You see when it works,
Yeah.
People laugh, and then you see a lot of sweaty palms when they aren't laughing.
Is the process on set very different from like a drama, or would it be pretty much the same?
Yeah, I think we encourage having a lighter and collaborative ensemble feel on set,
Sure.
Keeping it alive. Improvisation is important. You have to go in with a lot of preparation, so everything just doesn't go to hell. But there's an encouragement to think on your feet, come up with ideas, go in prepared, but throw it all away and
Leave some room.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
let inspiration happen there as well.
And so is there studio space at the school?
There's a small studio there.
Okay.
Yeah. A smaller green screen sort of sound stage that gets used, but they go out all over the place.
Yeah.
I've got a student right now going to shoot in Columbia, another one shot in Idaho right now, another one shot in Colorado. They shoot all over the country and world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you said Columbia, I thought maybe you meant the school. You mean the country.
No, the country.
Wow.
Yeah, she's heading there in a few weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. And I notice, too, with comedy, really with all film, but comedy, it really comes down a lot of times to editing, right?
Yeah.
Because the beats in a comedy, it's just sometimes a second off one way or the other, and the joke doesn't play as well.
Exactly. So you're trying to shoot it in such a way that gives you options in the edit. So you say, I think that's right, but a lot of times when you're on set, if you're trying to shoot something in a master, are you sure that timing is right? Is that going to play, or do you have the ability to go in there and tighten and get the timing exactly how you think how you are going to need it when you get in the editing room? And sometimes what you think is going to happen on set, that's not what you need when you get in the editing room. So there's a lot of care for how not to screw yourself in the editing room for comedy.
Do you leave extra time for jokes to land so you have that room to wiggle the comedic timing around?
It depends. I mean, sometimes if you want something to work in a two-shot, you need actors with good comedic timing that know it's going to work. Because it's interesting, because a lot of times people, they shy away from stage actors, but the thing a stage actor can give you if they're seasoned is they can tell if a joke's going to work.
Yeah.
But on a set, you don't get the immediate response of laughter. You can't have it. In fact, that's one of the lines from, I believe, Caddyshack. Who was it? It was, oh God, throw it in the fish tank. What was his name? He's the golfer. My wife, Rodney Dangerfield. No, it's Rodney Dangerfield. Said, I flopped. I flopped today. My first day on a film shoot, and I flopped. And I said, why? And he goes, nobody was laughing. And they had to explain to him that they aren't allowed to laugh on a film set. So people that aren't accustomed to it,
they don't get that feedback.
They don't get the feedback. So it's best to get people that understand, like, I know I'm not getting the feedback. This is funny anyway. If you're going to shoot something in a two-shot and you really don't want to cut away, that's my experience.
That's interesting. It's like playing a guitar but not being able to hear it in your headphones or something.
Yeah, audience response is very important to a lot of actors, but they don't get it on a set. So it's I find people that are just have some experience at that kind of stuff, they tend to be a little more successful in those shots you're talking about.
Yeah, when they go out and they shoot the actual film, is it one person per film, or you guys are sort of putting a little crew together inside the class, and then they all
each person
work
gets
together?
their own film, but they all tend to work on each other's films. The sense of ensemble there is just really outstanding, yeah. And so it'll be like 1 week, half the class is working on someone's film, and previous cohorts are working on another person's, on some of the current cohort's films. So the sense of ensemble and connection from cohort to cohort, someone who might be at an earlier stage in the filmmaking is working on a final production for the cohort that came right before them. So yeah, it's they work on each other's stuff. They act in it. There's a lot of really good actors that come in. They're funny, and their development from when they walk in to where they walk out, their skill as a comedian is kind of startling to me sometimes, how good some of them become as actors.
Well, you never know with Second City. I mean, the roster runs very deep of tremendous talents that have come out of there.
And that's what I like, too, is the collaboration of having this film school with Second City, because there's obviously just actors who are, just working at Second City.
Oh, they're all
taking
over.
classes, right?
Yeah.
So they're doing that, and maybe they, mix a little bit in with the film school.
Yeah.
They throw them in. I mean, it can only help both sides of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of cross-pollination that happens. They have access to all these improvisers that are running all over the place, eager to hone their skills in film in particular, and sometimes just scene study. They'll come into class and they'll just do scene study. They'll do sketches. They'll do scenes from plays, scenes from movies. So there's just actors everywhere around there, and it's really fertile, positive environment, I think, and just creative, very creative.
Do any of the big hitters ever show up for a day?
Oh, yeah. They have
Drop some names on us, man.
Oh, Bob Odenkirk, Betty Thomas, Paul Feig, Martin Short. They show up and they have a little talk, and everyone's like jaw drops, and they'll sit around and talk to people for an hour or two.
That's got to be so awesome.
It's really tremendous. Everybody loves it. They just show up, and who came by? Eugene Levy.
Oh, wow.
Came by, and he said something like, "Being able to talk to all of you is one of the greatest honors of my life," and it just feels great to see feel the enthusiasm from these big hitters show up and love talking to these people.
So many of them got their start there.
Yeah, it's a give back feel, and it's really wonderful. So I just want to make sure that if anyone's interested in this, September 16th is the deadline for the January cohort, the next session that starts up. So September 16th, and they can find out about it on RamisFilmSchool.com.
Nice.
That's it.
And we'll put the link in the show notes, as
doubt.
always. Yeah.
Yeah. We like to end these guest interviews with a silly cinema cue. It is Nicole Kidman month here. Phil, what do you got for John?
Yes, John, in honor of Nicole Kidman month, I wanted to talk about Moulin Rouge. Obviously, it's one of her big movies. My question for you, what would you say is the best number in that movie?
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Does that even exist in that?
That's a lyric from that song, yeah. I thought you were asking Phil, honestly.
That was awesome.
No, right.
Who knew
Phil,
John
what do you
was gonna
say?
whip that out, you know?
That's Lady Marmalade.
That's it, yeah. That's it.
Marmalade, as it were.
Oh, Phil. You are
That
correct,
is
though.
awesome. All right, so John is going to be sitting in on this entire jaw. He has his top 5 reunion films picked out, Matt.
Nice.
Brings us to a segment called Eye for an Eye.
Yes, this week on Eye for an Eye, The Goldfinch. 13-year-old New Yorker Theo Decker's life is turned upside down when his mother is killed in a terrorist attack at the Metropolitan Museum of Contemporary Art. Confused in the rubble of the tragedy, he steals a priceless piece of art known as The Goldfinch. The film stars Nicole Kidman, Finn Wolfhard, and Sarah Paulson. It is based on the best-selling novel of the same name and is directed by John Crowley, who previously directed 2015's Brooklyn. Rye, we throw it over to you, pal.
I really liked Brooklyn a lot. All I know really about this book is every once in a while when I buy books, which isn't a ton, I'll usually buy like 4 or 5 at the beginning of the year, and then I try to read those 4 or 5. And
That's a terrible way to
I don't know
build
why
your-
I do that way. I
don't know why you do that either.
because I'm cheap and I want like sales. So I finally go and I just buy whatever's on sale. And the Goldfinch was like a bestseller, and I almost pulled the trigger on it like 2 different times. Threw it in the fish tank when it was published. But I know I saw it and was like, ooh, boy, I read about it and I thought it looked really good. So I'm excited, since I haven't read the book, to actually catch the movie. I'm interested. Matt.
I don't have a story nearly as crazy as that.
And the director did Brooklyn, which had Saoirse Ronan in, and I loved it.
I didn't see Brooklyn, so I guess I don't have that warm fuzzy that you do. But I saw the trailer. It looks kind of like a tearjerker. I don't think this is my speed. Ignore.
John, interested or ignore?
I like Brooklyn. I like her, but I'm with you, man. I don't. And the name, no, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Wow. 1 interested, 2 ignores as we jump into the fish tank. Phil, where do you fall on this one?
Rye, you're on your own again, just like everyone else has said. I mean, I don't know. Dramas are important, but I just don't like them that much. So I'm sure it'll be a good movie, just not for me.
Wow. 3 ignores, 1
Is this
interested.
Oscar bait? I mean, be honest with me here.
I think so. I think the story probably lends itself to. I haven't seen it, nor have I read the book, so I can't properly tell you. But I will say that I think coming from a best-selling novel that was very critically acclaimed,
Right.
I think when they make a movie such as that, it's somewhat
Oscar baity. So Oscar bation.
3 ignores, 1 interested for the Goldfinch. We will have a review for you, though.
Were there any terrorizing killer clowns in the Goldfinch trailer?
There were in It Chapter 2, Matt.
That's right. Back in 2017, Pennywise, the dancing clown, appeared to terrorize and devour the children of Derry, Maine, until he was defeated by the ragtag members of the Losers Club. 27 years have passed, and the losers must now keep their promise to reassemble in Derry once again to take it on and stop Pennywise once and for all. But can the likes of grown-ups like Jessica Chastain, Bill Hader, and James McAvoy possibly match their childhood counterparts? Or are the losers doomed to lose their lives? Ryan and I shined up our dancing shoes and floated down to the theater to find out.
To the losers?
We made an oath.
Swear? If it isn't dead, if it ever comes back, we'll come back to it.
We didn't stop it.
Pennywise.
The clown. We can't let it happen again.
Hello?
Kid! Kid! Hello.
Ryan, what you need to know about the movie is this. 27 years have gone by, and the only person who stayed in Derry is Mike. One by one, he calls up the losers who have forgotten the events of that summer when they took on Pennywise the Dancing Clown. Slowly, as they come back together, they start to remember, only to be terrorized anew with haunting visions, terrifying monsters, and loads of jump scares until it all leads up to a final confrontation with it. That's basically the plot. There's some, love interests and other things going on, of course.
Agreed. I was shocked how much it actually does mirror the first chapter.
Yeah. So wait, have you read the book?
No. And I when I saw the television movie, it was I don't even really recall it all that well. I don't even know if I saw like part 2. I think I watched like part 1 and some of part 2. I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I never went back. That kind of feel.
Well, we were talking in the car. Who plays Bill Hader's character in the original TV movie was Harry Anderson from Night Court. Which wait, was he a Second City guy? No, he's Canadian, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, so it mirrors chapter 1, and by that I mean in chapter 1 you'll recall each kid has their own sort of vision with Pennywise,
Right.
where something happens to them, some part of fear that each character has that's unique to them is fleshed out on the screen, and it really basically is the same type of mechanic here. Each kid comes back and they're supposed to get a token. Something that was left when they were kids 27 years ago.
Right.
And in the process of getting these tokens, they have to do it alone. This is part of the ritual. And in that, each one of them, again, is facing their fears.
Right.
This time, probably a little bit more...
Grown-up fears.
Right. Themes of something that may have transpired as a kid that you never quite got over as a kid. And you might not realize that it has the effect on you that it does until you sort of reflect and realize that you being scared of this particular aspect of your life is still affecting you as an adult.
What's interesting is the difference between childhood fears and adult fears, because you correctly pointed out on our ride over to the studio that the movie is basically about fear and how one processes fear. But I think adult fears can be way worse because we've had time to, I don't know, I guess maybe because adult emotions are deeper, more complex. We've had more experience. We sort of understand the nuance where childhood fears are sort of basic. Sorry to any children listening.
Well, you don't have the thought process of having all the history and experience in your life quite when you're young. So you're just scared of things that are new to you.
Right, like terrifying
As an adult,
clowns.
You can actually reflect and realize to some degree why that is a fear of yours. It could be that you're ashamed of something
Right.
that society has casted on you, and
You have
that
more to
becomes
lose.
a fear.
Yeah.
There is a scene this movie opens up with basically a hate crime, and it's a pretty brutal hate crime.
It's a doozy.
It really, I couldn't believe the tone it set for the movie. It's a very dark opening. And I mentioned to you also right before we'd hit the record button on our way here, saying that to me this was them showing what fear does if we're not learning from the process of growing up as a society, right? So you got these kids performing a hate crime because what we're seeing is
Right.
they're just afraid of what they're actually hating.
Right. Yeah, they're displaying some pretty rampant homophobia there, and they're obviously like small town, sort of like, they look like meth addicts or something. Anyway, I don't know about that scene. It's a bit of a head scratcher. Like, I'm all for a horror movie coming out strong with a good scare, a good punch, or even a pretty gruesome act of violence. I'm all for it. But that one, I just don't understand. It doesn't match the rest of the tone of the movie.
But I think if you're going for the idea that we have to master our own fears, I think looking at that hate crime is the filmmaker saying, look what not mastering your fear can lead to. It just leads to more hate.
I understand, and I agree with you. I maybe have to watch it again because that one, I don't know if it fit. It felt almost maybe a little shoehorned. I don't know. It could have been cheap or it could have been earned. I have to see it again.
It was 2 years ago when I reviewed the first It. I believe 2 years ago now. And
2017.
Yeah, and I raved. I remember talking about the chemistry of the cast. It was a kid's movie that made us remember how great like something like an adventure like the Goonies could be, right?
Yeah.
So here, you flash to 27 years later. I pose this question to you, Matt Kay. How did the adult cast do compared to the child cast in the 2 chapters of It.
James McAvoy pretty much outacts everyone in the entire movie. Like, he acts circles around him.
With the exception of Bill Hader, I think.
With the exception of maybe Bill Hader.
I think Bill Hader actually might be the highlight for me.
The guy that played Stanley wasn't terrible either. Jessica Chastain's obviously, like, just, she's phenomenal. She's gorgeous. I don't know. She's just maybe not quite. I guess what I'm trying to say is McAvoy is almost too good to be in this movie.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
No?
I think they were all up to snuff. I agree. Jessica Chastain's always great. McAvoy was pretty solid. Mm-hmm. And I agree, he does really well. For me, the standout is Bill Hader. And maybe that's because I'm not used to seeing Bill Hader in a serious role as much.
Right.
So maybe that's what it was too. And don't get me wrong, he's sort of the comedy element because he's
him and
plays a stand-up comic in the movie.
Man, I'm mixing up the character names, but the kid with the inhaler, he is also
that's Eddie with
Eddie.
the inhaler.
Yeah, so also a bit of the comedic relief. Those two were really tied at the hip, sort of, always making mom jokes to each other and whatnot. Yeah.
So did you like this adult cast then in general?
Very well
cast. Did you feel the chemistry?
Not only did I feel the chemistry, there's this one shot where they do a fade between Eddie as his childhood actor to the adult actor, and you just get a sense of what a great job the casting director did on this film. And with managing to get some pretty decent names in there too.
Well, not only that, I actually wrote down in my journal, one of the words I wrote down here was transitions. And by that, I meant all those great transitions of the adult actors reflecting back on the childhood memories. So you get something where somebody falls down a hole into like a clubhouse,
and the kid
when they fall down and they go to the shot below, it's the kid and all the kids coming back down. And they do that just seamlessly.
They do, which kind of keeps you on your toes because you never know where you are in time, in Derry, which is interesting because it's also part of what's going on with the characters. They're sort of having visions and hallucinations and stuff, so they don't really know what's up.
Speaking of the visions and hallucinations, we have to discuss the visuals of It Chapter 2.
Oh, man, there are some fantastic old-school practical monster effects here, straight out of the pages of Fangoria magazine that I absolutely love. The leper in the basement is brilliant. The old lady, which I guess was actually CG, terrifying.
That was, for me, okay, the old lady, this is the scene in the trailer that has been shown. Right. But that scene, I'm so glad to report, is even better than we see.
They don't show you everything.
Right, in the trailer. Thank you for not spoiling it for us, because we see the trailer, and right when we got to that point, I was a little let down because I thought I knew what was going to happen. No. That scene was awesome.
That scene was awesome. And you get to kind of witness a bunch of monsters. One other one that we mentioned was Paul Bunyan. It's just all the monsters are great.
And Spiderhead, for lack of a better term, that's what I'm calling one of the creatures that comes to life, was absolutely excellent as well.
Very reminiscent of John Carpenter's The Thing. So, just in general, but a lot of the body horror stuff that gets going on in it is pretty good. Compared
to one, where do you got it sitting here? Do you think it's just a nice compliment to it?
Oh, I think it's a fantastic compliment. I think the two of them together will go down as a horror classic, as one piece of art. But just specifically saying, how does part 2 measure up? It doesn't have that adventure feel that part 1 had. It doesn't quite have the pacing and the laughter that part 1 had. But it's a lot scarier. And it comes strong with the scares. It was one of the. I think it's fair to say it was the scariest movie I've seen so far this year.
Wow. See, I think movies where, and I think I mentioned this
scared the crap out of me, dude.
When I reviewed the first movies where the characters are having visions, for me, doesn't scare me as much because I'm having fun with it, thinking they're not going to get hurt because most of the time it's just a vision to them.
Right. And then,
so for me, it's not terrifying.
Then a mental patient with a knife who's real comes out and stabs you in the face.
Yeah. Hey, there are some scary scenes. I'm not saying I didn't jump, but for me, it's more fun horror than I am scared sitting there.
And a lot of great comedy as well.
But I smiled a ton throughout.
It's a fun movie. I mean, especially if you like being scared, but even fans of comedy, I think, will enjoy the ride. There are plenty of laughs. It's not as good as the first one, I think, as far as the tone and the pacing and the storytelling, but it was a nice way to wrap things up, and it was fun.
And the final set piece was excellent. Once again, the final set piece in the first It was amazing, and they did it again with this one.
Yeah, they did.
So
They really did.
you got a movie poster quote here, Matt, by chance? I went with something very simple.
Okay, what you got, Rye?
It does it again.
That's exactly what I have. It's right here on the page. It does it again.
How many Jaws, Matt K?
I give this a solid 3. This is a good movie. Go see it. Is it a 4-star movie? No, but it was damn good.
I'm at 3 Jaws also, and if I got to give a deterrent here, it's the runtime.
Same.
I mean, we're recording this Jaw rather late because the runtime for this movie is almost 3 hours. It did not need to be 3 hours.
They could have cut a few scares. If it was all story, I get it. But like, a lot of it's just like gratuitous scare stuff that they could have.
I think a solid 20 minutes they could have cut this thing down. I would have been happy with like a 2 hours and 25-minute runtime. Full half hour to 20 minutes cut out of this movie, I think.
Yeah, Bill Hader's door scene, for example, very funny. Maybe we could have cut that out.
Yep. 3 Jaws for Matt K. 3 Jaws for Rye the Movie Guy. If you do see It Chapter 2 and you have Twitter pulled up, shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw, or you can always email us feedback@cinemajaw.com. Big reunion with this one because the kids of Derry, the Loser Club, got together 27 years later. So that gave us the topic, our top 5 favorite reunions in film. We always like to turn to the guest here, John, and ask if this was a difficult list to come up with, easy, fun. What was it?
It was. I had such a hard time, and then I realized I made a feature film that was nothing but effed up reunion. It was nothing but a reunion, like one big bad reunion. So, but all the ones I picked are you said I could play with us a little
Oh,
bit.
sure.
Okay, yeah. So it was a little hard for me because I couldn't, apart from my film, I couldn't think of one that was like, except for 1 or 2 really standard ones that I really liked. So yeah, I have some ideas.
I had fun with it also. Like I said, I have some reunions where people just got separated in one movie and came back together.
Yeah, like what is a reunion? It's
Right.
like it's a pretty broad category.
It is broad.
And so I found that my idea of what is a reunion movie started to expand.
Nice. So what do you got sitting at number 5?
Number 5, I'm going to go with something actually kind of standard. I'm going with the whole Kill Bill thing, like reunion with all the assassins and that reunion with Bill.
Yes.
Reunion with Bill. All just going towards Bill and what's going to happen with Bill. It's a good reunion.
It was a good reunion.
Brief, but good.
But she meets back up with each one in turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, they all have their own special little flavor.
Yeah.
It's fun, yeah. So that's my number 5.
I like that one. I even like there's that clip of like Bud, he's talking to Bill, and he's like, she deserves getting her revenge,
Yeah.
Like they know they did something really bad, and it's okay.
She's coming back.
Yep.
They're all going to meet again.
Yeah, they all sort of resigned to their fates at the end there.
Kill Bill, a reunion film.
Right.
You see how we do it here on Cinemajaw?
Yeah, I like
works.
it. Yeah.
I like it.
All right, swings it over to me, and this is a bit of a cheat because we actually got to talk to this filmmaker, but this is a legit amazing movie, Krisha. Do you remember this movie?
Oh, heck yeah.
All right, have you seen this one, John?
No.
All right,
Trey Edward Schultz.
Trey Edward Schultz. It's a smaller independent film. This estranged mom, she's addicted to drugs. She's clean. She begs her sister to who's raised her son to come back for a Thanksgiving dinner. She wants to cook for the family, and we sort of see the film from her point of view and follow her into the bathroom where she's sneaking little sips to cope as tensions rise. Mm-hmm. And it all culminates on sort of an act of violence, honestly, but a big family fight. I think we've all had those awkward family dinners, Thanksgiving dinners at one time or another.
Yeah.
But this one really goes off the rails in a fantastic way. And the way that Trey Edward Schultz captured this movie, even though it's a drama and a comedy at times, it almost has a horror feel, just the way he frames things up. And it's a really good movie. I recommend it.
You just made me think of when I left off.
I'll throw it in your honorables.
Yeah,
My honorables?
sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got it.
Nice pick, Matt.
Thank you.
Yes. Great film.
My next one's
Krisha,
really going
if
to piss
you
you
have not
off.
seen it, I agree. My number 5 is based on a book that I read. I must have got it on my sales when I grabbed 4 or 5 at the beginning of a year one time. And I went and I was excited because it's an ensemble piece. It's about a family coming together after a father passes away. It's 2014's This Is Where I Leave You. And the ensemble here is Jason Bateman, Adam Driver, Tina Fey, and the mother in the family is played by Jane Fonda.
I think I've seen this. Give me a bit of the plot.
No.
So the father passes away, and they all got to come back as like a sort of family reunion and sit Shiva. I believe that's how you say it. And they got to sit there. I think it's like a week-long time. And basically, Jason Bateman's character is going through a divorce when he gets the call that he's got to go to his family, and he hasn't told the family yet that he's going through a divorce. And those kind of weird situations you can get in when you haven't told anybody that you're divorcing your wife. And then you got these complications between the brothers that clearly something happened earlier that affects their lives even today, an incident that probably shouldn't have took place that did, and now they have to live with those circumstances. And then the neighbor likes, Tina Fey and so on and so forth. There's other
wackiness
dynamics.
ensues.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, at one point they find a joint in their dad's coat pocket, and, the brothers come together and have a little powwow, and comedy ensues. If the book is, you say it all the time, the book is 10 times better. Highly recommend This Is Where I Leave You. It's a great read. I laughed out loud tons, but the movie also worth
Solid.
a spin.
Nice.
Yep. So that is my number 5. This is where I leave you. Into our 4s, John.
4. Okay, this one is very near and dear to the I believe the Second City heart, but I think it's legit. I'm not just being a homer here. The Graduate. Everybody he meets in that, from the time he comes home, are people he knows, and he's just he's coming back to meet the people of his youth, and he's trying to figure out how to make that transition to being autonomous and being his own man and determine his own trajectory, which he never really does fully, but he certainly grows in it. It sort of ends like it starts, but yeah, I think that's a real interesting reunion story.
One word for you, John.
Plastics.
I was going to say cuckoo, cuckoo.
I love that. I still use it all the time. Someone says something like, you got to go into this. I'm like, one word for you. Plastics. Classic. Can't go wrong with The Graduate.
No, you can't go wrong with The Graduate. I had the 8-track, the soundtrack on
my
8-track.
God.
Yeah, dude.
What? What the hell?
I know. That's weird, right? But I'll never forget staring at that cover with Dustin Hoffman and just the leg. Who is the actress?
Anne Bancroft.
Anne Bancroft. Oh, yeah. Can I tell you the trivia about that one? That's fascinating. She was under 6 years older than him when she shot that. She was just under 6 years difference between the two of them.
That's crazy.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
A lot is, too, because Dustin Hoffman looked so young.
He looked so young.
I mean, he was cast, he was way older, but he was cast as this kid that just came out of college.
Yeah, it's still shocking to look at that.
She married Mel Brooks.
Yeah, can you believe that?
Yeah. Good for him. All right, that swings it over to my number 4. And when we look back retrospectively at the career of John Cusack, there have been a lot of great movies, and some of my favorites, to be honest. I just love me some John Cusack. But when I'm really being honest with myself, there's one that stands above all the others.
Don't even say Con Air.
Hot Tub Time Machine.
That is totally not where I thought he was going. I thought for sure it was an assassin going back to his high school.
Yeah. That would have been totally worthy for this list. But I thought, of those two, Hot Tub Time Machine is the more pathetic.
That's ridiculous.
No, because we've all been there. We all have that group of guy friends, right? Who, the one who's still holding on to being a party animal, the one who's like sort of a hypochondriac. These are the archetypes that even make up the Losers Club in It. They come back together for one last weekend of bravado, and wouldn't you know it, they somehow manage to turn their hot tub into a time machine. It's brilliant. One of
the most creative time machines since Bill and Ted.
Possibly ever. I mean, what have you got? Your DeLoreans, your phone booths, and your hot tubs.
Thing of beauty.
The title says it all.
They should have never made Hot Tub Time Machine 2.
They should have never made Hot Tub Time Machine 2.
We can agree on that.
We can totally agree on that. Well, you didn't see John Cusack come back for the sequel.
No, of course not.
Can I watch the sequel without watching the first one? Or do I lose too much of the narrative?
Don't even bother watching the sequel.
Yeah.
You can honestly not bother watching the first one.
No, it's fun.
It is pretty good.
It is fun. I'll give you that. All right, my number 4, this is where I'm talking about a reunion where a separation occurs in the beginning of the film, and the entire movie is about these individuals, and in this case, it's a family of 5 trying to reunite. It may separate some people, but in 2012, John Bayona directed The Impossible.
Never even heard of it.
Yes, it starred Ewan McGregor and Naomi Watts as a married couple, and believe it or not, a young Tom Holland.
Really?
Throw it in the fish tank if this was Tom Holland's first role. I don't know, but this is where I first saw him. And basically,
God, he's young now. I mean, how old was he? Like 5?
He's like a little kid. Yeah, he's maybe 8 years old in this movie. So you got Ewan McGregor and Naomi Watts and their 3 sons, and this is based on a true story. We're vacationing in Thailand when the tsunami hit, and it just wiped out the entire resort that they were at.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so basically it separated this family. So he was with 2 sons, she was with 1, but eventually he makes some type of decision where he asks somebody to watch his 2 sons, and you can imagine it's just complete chaos. And they end up going and getting separated again. So now it's like the 2 of the boys are by themselves, he's by himself, and Naomi Watts, who's the mother in the movie, is, hurt very badly, can't walk, and she's with one of the sons. And the whole movie is about them trying to find themselves among this chaos, and the good nature of people in those kind of situations to help everybody in need. And eventually they get reunited, and it's a tearjerker. It worked for me.
You just made me think of one. I got to jot it down. Holy crap.
I watched the ending of this movie, getting ready for it, and it's a wallop, I tell you. The Impossible. If it works for you, it'll really work for you. It worked for me. That was my number 4.
It's a good one.
Yes. Into our 3s.
Okay, 3. I'm going to getting the band back together with the Blues Brothers.
Nice. Could have been a number 1.
I agree.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty solid.
Yeah. Especially around these parts.
In these parts, right. And, it was, when I moved to Chicago, late 80s, it was still being talked about. It was still legendary I started working right away as a crew member in 87 as a PA. And the guys were still talking about all the cocaine on the set and how they smashed up 103 cars, officially. More, really.
Yeah.
And so that's around these parts, it's still
it's legend.
It's it's the boys that are still live on. I think I haven't seen it in a while. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've rewatched it
Has
since
it
we've done the
aged?
podcast. Pretty well, actually.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
still
classic.
fun. I watched it also. I think it was one of the first few years we were doing the podcast. We might have been doing Chicago movies, and I watched it. And it's aged a little bit, but it still holds up in other ways too.
A lot of it is, there's a lot of musical numbers, which kind of hold the movie together. Mm-hmm. And musicals, I think, just in general, age better because music is sort of timeless.
Yeah.
So I think, Blues Brothers holds up just fine. Don't worry.
All right.
It's still Chicago.
It's Chicago. And they're on a mission from God.
That's right. Getting the band back together. All right. Swings it to me. And at number 3, I am going to that time when you go back for Christmas break and you see your friends and some of them are good and some of them have just deteriorated. And that's what happens to James Spader and Robert Downey Jr. in Less Than Zero. I haven't talked about this movie.
I've never seen this one.
You've never seen Less Than Zero?
No, I have not.
I haven't seen that since it first came out.
So imagine all the warm fuzzies you got from The Breakfast Club and all the John Hughes movies put into a jar, and that jar just thrown against the wall and shattered, and that is Less Than Zero.
Who wrote that?
Oh, that is a
Throw it in
great
the fish tank. Throw it in the fish tank.
Famous.
I can't think of it. I don't know, but it's a dark story. It ends on a really sour, sad note. There's nothing uplifting about it. So, maybe you would probably find the uplifting note at the end, but it's kind of a bleak film. Mm-hmm. And honestly, before you had Chaplin, this was probably easily Robert Downey Jr.'s best role. And it still stands up there, maybe top 3. I mean, because, Iron Man obviously is his best role.
Come on.
Less Than Zero is fantastic. This is probably the movie where people stood up and said, oh, wow, Robert Downey Jr.'s actual real talent.
And James Spader probably too, huh?
I mean, I think Robert Downey Jr. just outshines Spader. Spader's great, but it's cool because you get that John Hughes feel from the movie, that Rat Pack sort of Brat Pack thing from the 80s, but it's twisted and given a lot of cocaine, and
Wow.
it goes downhill fast.
I'll write that one down.
Yeah, that's a good one,
All
dude.
right, check that one out. My number 3, 2010 movie, and it's a reunion that takes place a few years apart here. The movie is called The Debt, and I've talked about it a while ago. It stars Jessica Chastain,
Oh, how about
Sam Worthington, and Helen Mirren, and in 1965, it's about Mossad agents who arrive in East Berlin with the goal of capturing a famous Nazi war criminal and bringing him back to Israel to stand trial. So the beginning of this movie, the first half in 1965, you have basically like a good old spy movie where they're getting into East Berlin, going to capture this Nazi scientist, doctor, criminal, and they're going to bring him back to Israel. Well, the plan fails, and he gets away. But they decide they can't go back to Israel and say that he just got away.
Empty-handed, yeah.
So they say, well, we just had to kill him. It was just an assassination. We couldn't bring him back to stand trial because they figured he would never resurface. The movie Reunion here is now 1997, and they feel that he's about to come back. And now you got all these people who are older, and they all come back together, and they say, hey, let's go after him and actually get him this time. And they figure out where this Nazi war criminal is at.
Really?
And they still go to get the revenge.
How old
and
are they
actually
at this
kill him.
point?
Well, you got Helen Mirren, for instance, is one of the Mossad agents
Okay.
tracking him down. So we're talking older in life.
Yeah, 60s, 70s.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're
yeah.
they're still trying
I
to go
remember
through
that.
and follow through in the mission.
With the mission.
It's really good.
Yeah,
That sounds good.
I did see that.
Yep.
They bring it up. Yeah.
The Debt. Solid movie. My number 3, check it out if you haven't seen it. Into the twos we go.
I'm gonna stick with the Nazi theme and go with Casablanca.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
What a reunion.
Yeah. What a reunion of all the gin joints.
Yep.
She has to walk into Rick's. So yeah, that's my number 2.
It's one of the classic reunions of all time.
One of the greatest films ever made.
I would agree. I got nothing to say other than that. He never says "play it again, Sam."
Right.
He never says that.
That's true. That is a big
Well,
wives' tale, I guess. What do you
Yeah.
call that? Urban
Yeah.
legend?
Urban legend.
Famous trivia right there.
Yep. All right, swings it back to me, and this is where I slot in one of the greatest love stories of all time, one of the
boy.
greatest comedy movies of all time,
boy.
one of the greatest movies ever made with Fred Savage in it, and that is The Princess Bride. And of course, I'm talking about the reunion of Wesley and Buttercup, which is such a sweet scene that they have in what is the forest called? Oh my God, I can't believe I'm having this.
Can we throw that in the fish tank?
Yes.
What's the forest called?
I think it's the fire swamp, but Phil can back me up on that. So they're there, and she thinks he's still the Dread Pirate Roberts, and slowly he reveals his identity after she pushes him down a very, very steep hill, and he says, "As you wish," as he's rolling down. Still holds
That is
up.
great.
Still holds up. Peter Falk and Fred Savage anchor the whole thing. It's a great movie.
Solid pick at number
Thank
2.
you.
I follow it up with, I think, a great pick. We talked somewhere earlier about the director of this film. I believe, John, you brought it up. The film stars Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and the
This is a great pick, Ryan.
2013 reunion film, The World's End.
Yeah.
Brilliant movie.
Edgar Wright is the director.
Yes.
And the premise for this movie
So
is
good.
that Simon Pegg plays a guy by the name of Gary King, who's like a 40-year-old lush, He's
Yeah.
drinking.
He's like a me, essentially.
Okay, yeah, big-time boozer. And he comes up with the idea of gathering his old friends to do a pub crawl.
It's totally something I would.
12
would do.
famous pubs that they tried to do when they were younger, but they couldn't get through it. And it all ends at the pub called The World's End.
Oh, it's so good.
And of course, this is, Nick Frost, Simon Pegg, and Edgar Wright. So all hell breaks loose. There's these aliens that are attacking the town. And what's fantastic is that they don't want to end the pub crawl. Right?
They have to finish
They
it.
have to finish.
They have to finish the pub crawl. Even though the most bizarre things they're seeing in the bars,
Yeah.
they're being attacked in the bathrooms, all the weird crap, but they're still
Oh,
determined
that bathroom
to
fight
finish that
is
pub crawl.
so good.
Is that the best of the Cornetto series?
I don't know. I don't
It may
know.
be. I mean, Shaun of the Dead obviously is amazing.
Shaun of the Dead's great. They're all
Hot
great.
Fuzz
Start to
good.
stop, pretty solid. Shaun of the Dead.
Right. I think Shaun of the Dead's so classic that I feel it puts it above. But
Yeah.
for my money,
I think World's End
the
is,
World's End is
I think it
probably
might be
second.
better.
Really, I have to. Does the ending hold as much?
The whole thing, I don't know. I just like it more.
And
I'm a
the
zombie
sense
guy.
of fun in the editing of that, and the drinking,
Yeah.
of just those sequences are just edited so cleverly and with such precision. I love those segments.
Plus, the typecast swap between Nick Frost and Simon Pegg is perfect. You know how they kind of play each other's character.
Mm-hmm.
I dig it.
Yes, The World's End, my number 2. Hopefully the Jawheads have seen it. If not, it's an absolute must. No crossovers yet, and we are at our number 1 pick here on Cinemajaw. John, your favorite reunion film?
I would be shocked if there's crossover on this one. I'm going with the most existential reunion film I can think of, and that is Groundhog Day. And that is a reunion with his previous day, a reunion with himself, a reunion with his choices in life, and just a constant enforced reunion with himself, coming into contact with the self that he loathes.
And the people.
And the people.
And
over
everything.
and everything. Over and over. But it's a very, I like that. And
Listen
it's,
to John get serious with Groundhog Day. I
yeah.
like it.
Oh, yeah. It's a one of my favorite stories about. I guess like Ramis got approached after that, or contacted by a lot of religious leaders of different, like not just faiths, but like Buddhists and whatever, just like wildly different religions, saying they really appreciated how it spoke specifically to their beliefs.
Right.
Like Dalai Lama dug it, and like.
Everyone can sort of see themselves in Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, it really addresses those things without actually ever addressing religion or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's
And he
it's
gets
just
to bring
silly.
up Harold Ramis,
Yeah, I swear to
Celebrating the
God,
Harold
I'm
Ramis Film
not
School.
being a homer, but September 16th is the deadline for that.
Yes. Just
Well
a
done.
reminder.
Just a
September
reminder.
16th.
No, that is my number 1. I find it just really fascinating movie.
Great pick at number 1. Matt Kay, what do you got?
The editing alone is
Yeah.
fascinating. All right. The word reunion is in the title, okay? And it is a cult movie that has stood the test of time. And it is such an unlikely cult movie. I have talked about it before, but I think it's been a little while at least. 1997's Michelle and Romy's high school reunion. I don't know what it is about this movie. There's something about it, man, that just makes it special. It's way bigger than the sum of its parts. Mm-hmm. And
Yeah, it's a good description.
it just sort of works somehow. I think they almost accidentally made a tremendously awesome movie. I remember when I first saw it in the 90s, loving it, and I came back to it again after we started doing Cinemajaw and said, wow, this movie really held up well. I think it's still there. And when you're talking reunions, this is it. This has all the tropes. You put on some sort of lie to make yourself appear bigger than you are, more successful. When you go back for a high school reunion, you don't want to just be a schlub who's working a receptionist job. You want to like say you're the inventor of Post-its. So that's what these two gals do. Again, just bigger than the sum of its parts. You've still never seen it,
I
right?
still have not, no.
You've got to. It's a cult movie at this point.
I'll put it on the list.
Put it on
yeah,
the list.
it's funny.
It was scary. That's 2 picks from Matt that I'm putting on the list this week. I don't like where this is going. My number 1
Was
pick.
it Hot Tub Time Machine the other one?
No, less than 0. All right, my number 1 pick is a film we reviewed here on Cinemajaw. And the reason I think I put it at number 1, I still think it's a sleeper, and not enough people have seen this movie. And we were both pretty big fans of it. 2016, based on a true story of a kid who got lost at a very young age, and the reunion here is him trying to find his family. 2016's Lion, which starred Dev Patel and Nicole Kidman.
Oh, yeah. Dude, wow. I forgot about that movie.
And it's the story of Saru, who is a 5-year-old boy who gets on a train in India just outside of the village that he grew up in. He lays down to take a nap, and the train starts to move and leaves while he's sleeping. And he basically wakes up in a whole nother part of India, doesn't speak the language, doesn't know where he's at, and eventually from that point gets put into an orphanage. And this nice Australian couple ends up adopting him, and that's where Nicole Kidman comes in. And he's raised, pretty well,
Yeah,
And,
lovingly.
yes, very lovingly. But he has this urge, obviously, to always try to find his old village. And now technology has come up where we can actually Google map an entire country, and he can start to like look at things that he can just remember as a 5-year-old of areas of India of where he might have been, because he didn't even really know like the names.
It's so harrowing as a parent to think about that story. It's scary as hell.
And you go back and what a story it is, because I mean, using Google Maps, he's able to trace back the village and his actual family and mother, who, thought they lost him for life.
It gets complicated.
It does.
Yeah, and that was a true story too.
Based on a true story.
Wow.
Fascinating.
I'm glad you reminded me of that, dude, because I haven't checked in. I went down the Wikipedia rabbit hole right after I watched it, but it's been a while, so I want to check in on it.
Yes, do see Lion if you haven't. Honorable mentions before we go to break.
I got a bunch.
Oh, man.
Can I go rapid fire?
Rapid fire.
All right. American Reunion. Guys, we have to talk about that at least a little bit.
I did like that one.
Deer Hunter. Sort of. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Great one.
Beautiful Girls, which I just talked about last week, so I didn't want to put it on the list. Django Unchained, about a reunion of lovers. Gross Point Blank was the other John Cusack one I didn't talk about. Blues Brothers, we mentioned. Room's End. Room was the one that came up as we were doing this list.
Room.
Yeah,
Yes.
same here.
I mean, they're only separated for such a short period of time, but that reunion
it's
is
such-
one of the best.
That's a really good point. It's a very small separation,
Yep.
but it's so intense.
So tense. Yeah, because they literally have lived their whole lives with eyes on each other. And then that's the first time
Dude.
that they're separated.
That movie was amazing,
Yeah.
but
Great one.
that's so hard.
Yep. Yeah, that scene when Brie Larson comes running into the cop car, the whole way it's shot, tears in the eyes. I had Room also listed. La La Land, which was the ending when she goes into the jazz club, which is the big reveal where they're not together anymore, and they sort of flash to what life would have been if she stayed with Ryan Gosling, and then ends up leaving the club. Very sad. And then another John Cusack. What's with John Cusack in these reunions?
Yeah, I
Hey.
found him coming up a lot.
He's amazing, that's why.
This is a cheesy one, don't get me wrong, but it popped up on my radar when we were talking reunions, and that's Serendipity, where it was. Do you remember this one? It's
yeah.
him and Kate Beckinsale, and they basically, it's a romantic comedy where they meet, and she's all into believes in these weird fates of things, and they go to write down a phone number and it blows away, and she's like, that's a bad sign, we can't exchange numbers. So they come up with this idea of writing a number on a $5 bill, the information, and then the information inside like a book jacket, and then they
Part ways.
and if those two would ever come back and exchange. And the movie's fun for me anyways, because though they come up where the book is almost in the guy's grasp and he wouldn't know it, and the $5 bill was pretty close, but they don't know it, but eventually it does all.
It's funny how that happens, right?
Serendipitous. So any honorables for you, John?
Yeah, I got the 98 Dogma film Celebration, or known Festin.
I wrote down just from the research. I haven't seen it.
Did it come up?
Yeah, in research, I was doing looking up stuff and I saw people talking about Celebration.
Yeah, interesting film. It was one of the early Dogma films. I think it was shot on just like a Canon X. What do they call it? The X1 or something. So it's grainy. It's very grainy, but it's a good film. It's a good film. Just dark family reunion. It's a birthday celebration. It's just makes you feel good about your family. Most likely.
Good. I could.
Yeah, I could.
Good.
Yeah, everyone
use
can
some of
use
that.
that.
Yeah.
And then the other one I thought, Castaway. I guess Castaway.
It does
that's
have
a
a
good
great
point.
reunion scene between Hanks
Yeah.
and Helen Hunt.
Yeah, those are the two that came up.
I love it when he starts to drive away and it's raining, and then he gets back out of the car and they come together fine. Oh, that's great.
Don't you guys feel like you wish he would have found Wilson, though, at the end? It just washes
Yeah,
up.
yeah. The film wasn't as satisfying as it could have been.
All right, if we missed your favorite reunion film and you have Twitter pulled up, shoot us a tweet or write us an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Matt is taking John on in Nicole Kidman Costar movie trivia, plus a look at what's going on in Hollywood. Stick with us.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go
And now, Nicole Kidman hears the word marmalade in the whimsical film Paddington.
ourselves a treat.
There was some weird sort of animal at the dock today.
Oh, yes?
I was doing my rounds as usual when I spotted something sticky on the deck of the boat. I think they were paw prints. Must have been in there all the way from Peru. Seems to have lived on nothing but marmalade.
Did you say marmalade? What happened to him?
He sneaked out in the mail van.
Yes.
I tracked him as far as Paddington Station.
Good.
But then he disappeared.
I'm sorry. It's just that that creature means a great deal to me.
Why? Is he endangered?
He is now.
Hey Jawheads, it's Matt K with a quick reminder of September's riddle. Here we go. Ghosts are in my past, both recently and a long time ago. I'm known for my good looks, but you might just fall in love with my voice. I've done many. I've been a snake, a dog, a punk rock hedgehog, and a mermaid princess. But it's not all whispers in my ear. I'm also an assassin in at least 2 different roles. Who am I? Write us your answers to feedback@cinemajaw.com, and one lucky Jawhead will win a prize pack or the chance to take me on in movie trivia. Good luck.
And we are back on Cinemajaw hanging out with John Mossman. You gave a fact in there that you said you have made a feature film, and it's also about a reunion. When did you make this feature?
Oh, man, I think it's like 2012 is when I made it. Yeah.
It's not that long ago, man.
No. But I'm feeling like, what am I saying? I'm on making my next one, but, I'm really chomping at the bit now. Yeah.
So when did you get involved in just becoming a filmmaker? Did you start with shorts, which is the way a lot of people go, right? Shorts, and then you finally try to tackle your first feature.
Yeah, I tried to make a feature when I was like 10 on Super 8. Like my mom was like, "You're crazy! Stop it! It's too expensive." And just being told I couldn't do it set me on a mission. To make a film. And so I made the film, and then I went back to my hometown. My mom was dead, but I went back to my hometown and premiered it, and theatrically premiered it.
Was this a Super 8 film? Or?
No, it was a 35, but I just felt like there was a full circle thing going on there with my obsession with making a feature that I would premiere in my hometown. It was fun. It was
great.
Is
awesome,
I mean, in a lot of ways, I just saw a lot of my friends, they're training for like the Chicago Marathon, right? Like it's a huge accomplishment to do. That in a lot of ways is filmmaking. I mean, we have people on all the time that are making short films, and they all talk about, I'm going to make my feature. I'm going to make my feature.
Yeah, it's
so
hard.
There is that, I think that vote of confidence and that feeling of like, look what I did.
Yeah, I've made 10 or 20 shorts, either directed or produced them. I mean, maybe 40 if I talk about producing and just writing. But I've directed maybe 8 of those, and they've done well at Fest. But then making that feature was a full year of my life and a little more, which is going around on the Fest circuit and all that.
What's the name of the film?
Into the Wake. You can find it on Amazon Prime.
Nice. Isn't that great nowadays? Like you can actually get your film out there. And
yeah, it is great. It's really great. And people are watching like Germany,
Yeah.
Like 4,000, I don't know, it was screened for 4,000 minutes yesterday. I don't know who. That's how they pay you by the minute.
That's great, man. Congrats.
Yeah. Thanks. So I'm just getting ready for my next
it's a
one.
reunion film.
Yeah, it's a bad reunion. Yeah. It's a really unhealthy
So just give us
reunion.
the synopsis really quick. Sell it a little bit on it.
Okay, so here's a guy just living his life on the South Side, trying to be inconspicuous. One day he gets a phone call. It says, "We got to move it." And he gets on his motorcycle and takes off up into the sticks. And you don't know why he's doing this, but he's driven. And next thing you know, he's being chased by a bunch of yokels. And he gets captured, and he runs into his brother, who he hasn't seen in 15 to 20 years. And then all these people who his brother sold him out to, his whereabouts to. And he's wrapped up in a clan war he tried to escape from 20 years earlier, and they want to know where somebody's buried.
Ooh.
Yeah, and he has to face himself. He has to face, trying to bury a feud is pretty hard, it turns out. Yeah. Even though people want to do it, the forces don't let them do it. So that's sort of the theme of it.
So if you had to peg it to a genre, is it like action, adventure, comedy, drama?
Someone reviewed it as an existential action film. And I like that.
Oh, man, I'm in on that.
Yeah, it's a revenge feature, but it's sort of existentialist. It's that was a review. Kind. I liked it. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the name one more time?
Into the Wake.
Into the Wake.
I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, it's 74 minutes, man. It's fast.
Okay.
It's good. It moves along.
And the deadline to sign up, if you want to, at
If
the
you're interested.
Harold Ramis Film School.
Would be September 16th.
Yes.
Yes, and you can see it. You can get that on ramisfilmschool.com.
Do it, Jawheads.
Yeah, do it.
Or if you know anybody in Chicago interested in comedy, in filmmaking, what a resource.
It's a fun application process, and you're with a really interesting bunch of people with a diverse bunch of comedic voices that are developing.
You never know when Martin Short or Eugene Levy's just going to drop in on your class.
You don't know. You're going to look out in the hallway, and there's Paul Feig just staring
chilling
at you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. Before we get to trivia and some Hollywood headlines, we did throw some items into the fish tank. And speaking of funny, I know Phil wants to swim up to the top and enlighten us with his humor. Let's open up that fish tank.
Wait a moment! It's fish! Isn't it?
DC! Wake up! Wake up! No, Pat, it's a giant glass bowl. Hey, get some fish folk.
Who's coming with me besides Flipper? Here.
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Thank you guys so much. So I don't have any jokes. I apologize. I didn't know you're going to be calling me funny.
No pressure, Phil.
Well, I guess he's not so funny.
But I'll get right in with our questions that we threw in here. Our first one, when did the book, The Goldfinch, come out? So the book was published in 2013, and it was on the New York bestseller list for over 30 weeks and would go on to win the Pulitzer Prize in 2014.
Oh, and everybody's giving it an ignore over here on the show, except for me, huh?
I wouldn't have read the book
Prize.
either.
Huh?
I don't think I've won any Pulitzer Prize award-winning books. Maybe the ones I read in high school, but...
Books get a Pulitzer Prize? Really?
yeah.
I thought it was journalism. Huh.
It's the same thing. Was The Impossible Tom Holland's first role. So it was his first live-action film debut. However, 2 years earlier, he did have a leading voice role in the Studio Ghibli film The Secret World of Reuinited. So it is not his first feature performance, but it is his first live-action performance.
Interesting.
We'll give it to him, though. Yeah.
Right. Very first time we saw him.
Gotcha.
Who wrote Less Than Zero. So the screenplay for the film is by Harley Payton, who would also write and produce for Twin Peaks, among others. However, the book is written by Bret Easton Ellis, who also is the author of other books we may know. American Psycho is a big one.
Yeah, that was it.
What? I did not know that. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
Yes. Yep.
Rise even more intrigued.
Yes, I wrote it down, so...
And then our last one, what is the forest called in The Princess Bride? Matt, what did you call it?
I think it's called the Fire Swamp.
That is 10 out of 10. You were right. It is the Fire Swamp. And I did learn also, while I was looking that up, that was the first scene that they filmed. So before anybody gets to know each other, they're
Interesting.
Running through the swamp, jumping over fire and stuff.
And the ROUSs, Phil.
Yes.
Supposed to say rodents of unusual size?
Oh.
Sure. I don't think they
He
exist.
doesn't know them film that
Come
well.
on.
I saw it when I was like 10, man.
Was
like
that everything, Phil?
That's
2
all we
years
got.
ago.
All right, jump back in that fish tank.
Will do.
Matt, before we get to trivia, we do like to see what's going on in the headlines, right?
Yeah, of course.
With some Hollywood headlines. Phil, what do we got going on?
So we're going to start off by getting really mad first. The first one, Kristen Stewart has a surprising revelation in her new Harper's Bazaar cover story while she's discussing the pressures that different Hollywood executives have put on her when it comes to her sexuality. The quote that she has said, "I've been fully told if you just do yourself a favor and don't go out holding your girlfriend's hand in public, you might get a Marvel movie." She would also go on to say, "I didn't want to work with people like that."
I don't blame her for not wanting to work with people like that.
I agree that we still live in this world where people can't accept something like that. It's just so bizarre to me. I mean, we
I
see
agree with
these
you.
Depictions, but I just think like me as as an individual and the people I hang out with, like who would say something?
Why
like
would
that?
anyone care?
I know. Does the public really give that much?
When did this
weight
happen to her?
The fact that
I hope it was years ago, man.
God, so do I.
That the actor's gay, they can't be a superhero. What? It makes absolutely no sense.
I mean, why do even... I had no idea that Kristen Stewart was gay. Maybe she's bi. I have no idea. But why do
I
even
didn't know
people
that either,
care
to be
about...
honest.
why do people care about her personal life at all?
I agree.
Right? That's my first thing. Who gives a shit?
Well, that was...
Well, that's part of the paparazzi lifestyle and the rags.
But if you go back, if you recall when Jodie Foster was getting that Lifetime Achievement Award at the Golden Globes, and she sort of made this big joke about, she was like, I got a big announcement today, because she's never fully come out.
Yeah.
Right? And she says this whole thing, and then she says, some sort of punchline that she doesn't say quite come out. But in that speech, she says, well, when did it become like a necessity for me to report to everybody that I'm gay or if I need to come out? I've told people in my life, and that's all that matters. These people are doing a job, I don't think it matters. We shouldn't be so inquired. What does it matter if Kristen Stewart's gay, bi, or straight? It doesn't matter to me as long as she's doing an amazing job on the screen.
Creating art.
Yeah, the town just seems just so oddly intolerant in that way. It did. I lived there in the mid 90s, and I had a friend who was an actor, and he was closeted, and he wouldn't go out and audition for gay roles because he didn't want to be pegged as gay. He let the non-gays do it, people that don't actually have direct experience with that lifestyle, And so he's like, no, I can't audition for those because I don't want to be perceived as gay.
Well, and that's
so weird.
That's what's weird too, right? So she could, right? If she was a straight woman, she could audition for a gay role, and nothing would matter. That would not matter to anybody.
Right.
Why does telling the same story and it doesn't matter? I don't know. Like I said, we started off by getting mad.
Yeah.
Dagnabbit.
That's a good point, Phil. I agree with you, man.
It is. Yeah. Hey, it's why we read the headlines here.
That's right.
Alrighty, so our next one, easing down a little bit. This one, Matt and Ryan may even have a little bit more info on after tonight. According to the director of It Chapter 2, there's apparently hints that there may be room for a third, a Chapter 3. Is this a good idea or a bad idea?
Is this a good idea or bad idea?
Well,
bad idea.
I think bad idea
about money.
also. I agree. But, okay, let's just turn it to television really quick. There's been a couple of series that were based on novels, such as The Handmaid's Tale and also the Man in the High Castle.
Oh, sorry.
Man in the High Castle, where they did the entire novel in the first season of those shows. So it was a really good first season, but then they add on, right? Because now it's just going to be a narrative. And to me, the show's declined heavily after that. It now has been done. We saw the whole book on the screen with these two chapters. For my money, I don't know how you feel, Matt, I wouldn't want to see a third.
Okay. I agree with you for the most part, but there is a part of me that really got some good Halloween vibes from the It property and the Pennywise character specifically. And if he came back again and it was well written, I don't know. If King was involved, maybe. Like, because we're getting Dr. Sleep later this year, right? Which is almost sacrilege or blasphemy to some people. Like, how do you follow Kubrick? But they're doing it. Maybe. But probably not.
I'm with Matt. Only if they got Stephen King back involved. Honestly, even half the time when they do King adaptations with King involved, they still suck.
And even King's novels themselves are some better than others. I mean, he's got some great ones, don't get me wrong, but he's got some duds.
Yep. All right. Well, vote for no for me.
Yeah.
That everything, Phil?
That's all.
All right, Matt. It brings us to trivia.
All right.
I'd like to end on a fun note here. John, I think he's nervous on playing trivia, but you shouldn't be.
You should not be.
In honor of the Goldfinch, in honor of Nicole Kidman month here on Cinemajaw, we're playing Nicole Kidman Costar trivia. I'll give you the movie, and you tell me who was Nicole Kidman's big co-star in the film. It works like this, John. You're our guest. You get to choose if you want to go first or let Matt go first. There are steals, and if you get hung up on any question, you get one Fill Me In. Phil, they do start off easy.
Then I'll start it off.
Question number 1. Nicole Kidman starred in Moulin Rouge. What actor played Christian, the poor writer who falls in love with her?
Jesus.
He's almost got McGregor.
Ewan McGregor.
There it is.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor. There we go.
1-0.
Nailed it.
Thank you.
If it
for
makes
that.
you feel better,
That was
I
a
would
gimme.
not have gotten that right. That's a fact.
1-0, John. Question 2 over to Matt K. Matt, in 1992, Kidman starred in Ron Howard's Far and Away. Who played the male lead, Joseph Donnelly, in the film?
God.
Far and away.
Directed by Ron Howard.
Yeah, so it's probably a big, big movie.
Nicole Kidman and who?
Tom Cruise. I got no idea.
You're a corker. That's his line.
It was Tom Cruise.
It was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, that
He
was
has,
their
like, the
big
worst-
epic,
yeah,
right?
He's got it. Just a terrible
I
Irish
just
accent.
totally guessed.
Got it.
It is 1-1. Question 3 bounces back over to John. In 2007, Kidman starred in The Invasion, a remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Who played the male lead, Ben Driscoll, in the film?
Jeez. No idea. I'm going to go with Goldblum. She's probably never worked with him. I'm just going with him because he's perfect.
He was in the original Body Snatchers.
Was he?
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
can never get the image of Donald Sutherland pointing with
Yeah.
I thought there might have been a callback there. Who was it?
That was incorrect. You got a chance for a steal here, Matt. Nicole Kidman and who starred in The Invasion?
I'm guessing Tom Cruise won't be the right answer this time. Or Ewan McGregor. I'm probably going to strike out there. Chris Evans. I don't know.
Incorrect. We were looking for Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig and Nicole Kidman starred in The Invasion. Still 1-1. Question 4, however, now is over to Matt K. Matt, in 2005, Nicole Kidman brought Bewitched to the big screen.
She did?
Yep. Who played Darren Jackson in the film?
It was Will Ferrell.
Well done.
I never saw the movie, but
2-1. 2-1. Question 5, back over to John. John, in 1993, so going back some time, 1993, Kidman played the wife of Bob Jones, a man who is dying in the tearjerker My Life. Who played Bob Jones, the lead in My Life? The movie had him making videos for his kid, who I believe wasn't born at the time.
I have no idea. I can't even take a guess.
You do have a lifeline if you want to use it. It's only question 5. There's 8 questions.
I'm going with Filmy and Phil.
Yeah, fill me in, Phil. Question 5. Phil, who starred with Nicole Kidman in My Life?
Alrighty, John, your clue this week? He's one of the guys who played Batman.
There's been a few actors who have played Batman through the years. in
Michael,
cinema.
what's his ass? What's his Michael? Good God. Birdman.
Yep.
It was Birdman. Michael
Keaton.
Keaton, thank you.
That is correct. That is correct.
You guys are way generous.
Ties it back up here. 2-2.
you had it. I mean, you would have got there.
2-2. Question 6. Back over to Matt K. Matt, Kidman starred as a nuclear scientist in 1997's The Peacemaker. Who played the male lead, Colonel Thomas?
How the hell do I know, dude? Are you kidding me?
No. Nicole
What the hell are you
Kidman-
talking about?
Nicole Kidman and who?
Can we get a Days of Thunder
1997's
question here?
The Peacemaker.
I mean,
you
I
do have a lifeline if you need it.
I was hoping I would get a dead calm question, because I'm familiar with that lesser known Kidman work.
Yeah. Question 6. It's tied 2-2.
What's the name of the movie?
It's called The Peacemaker. Nicole Kidman and who? She was a nuclear scientist.
Did you give me a year?
1997.
Jeez.
You do have a lifeline if you need it.
All right, fill me in, Phil.
Whoa! Question number 6. Phil, who starred with Kidman in 1997's The Peacemaker?
Alrighty, Matt, your clue this week. He's one of those guys who played Batman.
Are you serious? This is a short list.
Wow.
It's another Batman actor. Okay, it can't be Keaton. We've checked him off. So you got Christian Bale. You got George Clooney. I don't think she's worked with either of them. Val Kilmer is my guess.
Incorrect. John, you got a chance for a steal here.
I wouldn't have said Val. I thought people were done with him by then. I'm going to go with Clooney.
Wow, in a stunning turn of events, John takes a 3-2 lead.
Matt, you jagbag.
Who the hell says Clooney when you ask about Batman? Nobody.
Wow. 3-2, John, and question 7 is over to him. John, you can win it here on a walk-off. 2007, Kidman played Margot in the film Margot at the Wedding, which I believe was a Noah Baumbach film, in which she attends her sister's wedding. Who played her sister in the film?
What year?
Wow, 2007.
And your clue is one of the men who played Batman.
Kidman played Margot at the Wedding, in which she attends her sister's wedding. Who played her sister in the film? 2007. Who would be Nicole Kidman's sister?
Did you write those two questions intentionally difficult so we would both ask the clue?
I'm going to do Reunion of Renee Zellweger.
Ooh.
They don't look at all like.
Incorrect, Matt. You got a chance for a steal.
Who played
here.
Margot and Margot, or who played the sister?
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman was Margot. I mean, I literally have no clue. It could be anybody. Jessica Chastain. We've been talking about her a lot.
We're looking for Jennifer Jason Leigh. Jennifer Jason
She's
Leigh.
tremendous, actually.
Here it is. It's currently 3-2, John. The last question of the game is to Matt K. You can tie it up here, Matt, or you can just lose.
Pressure's on.
And be part of the loser club.
Hey, man, I'd gladly.
All right. Matt, your question. 2017's Killing of a Sacred Deer saw Kidman play the wife of a surgeon who may have a curse set on him and his family. Who played her husband, the surgeon, in the film?
2017 was one of the best years in film ever, potentially. And this is one of the only movies I missed that year.
I love how he sets it up.
Seriously, I saw a lot of movies in 2017. It was a banner year for Matt Kay. This is not one of them. I missed it. And it's Yorgo Lanthimos, right?
It is.
Yeah. And I have to catch up with it. I just haven't yet. So who played the love interest, the man?
Her husband.
Antonio Banderas.
Incorrect. John, you got a chance for a steal if you want to take a guess. You are a winner here.
Liv Schreiber?
Colin Farrell?
It was Colin Farrell. You could have almost got it.
We were all going
Because he was in The Lobster. That was...
John wins this one. Can I get a handshake here? John wins 3-2. That was a good game. If it came down to if it came down to a tiebreaker, a jawbreaker, this actually would have been to Matt Kay. Who's the better actor, Nicole Kidman or Colin Farrell?
That's a tough one, man. But you got to give it to the eyebrows of Colin Farrell, not him himself,
Incorrect.
just his eyebrows.
It's Nicole Kidman. It's Nicole Kidman.
But what about Bullseye? He was so good in that Daredevil
The real jawbreaker
movie.
was this: age of Jennifer Jason Leigh, closest to. Matt, do you got a guess?
At that
Currently.
point?
Currently. Okay. Over the speed limit, but only just. I will say 56 years old.
Lock him in at 56, Phil. John, you got a guess?
I'll say 53.
57. 57.
Whoa.
You came damn close, Matt.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
She looks great, though.
Yeah, she does.
That was a fun game of trivia.
That was. Good one, Rye.
Great way.
Did you write those two questions?
I'm a mastermind. I've been writing trivia for a long time. I
got to tell you, that's genius.
That was fun. Brings us to the end of a great jaw. And first and foremost, we got to thank our guest, John. This is a pleasure meeting you, and thanks for coming on.
It was a pleasure being here. Such a good time.
We'll have you back again when you get the next feature going, or
that's a good kick in the ass for me.
There you go.
I can't wait to get
Definitely.
back.
And best of luck with everything that's going on over at the Harold Ramis Film School. We also got to thank our engineer, the guy over there behind the glass, Film Me and Phil.
Oh, always happy to help out, guys.
And
Always happy.
I got to compliment your periodic table of Star Wars villains T-shirt. It's
Thank
fantastic.
you. It was a gift. Thank you.
Matt, we also got to thank our sponsors.
Yes, thanks to Busy Beaver Buttons and the Chicago Podcast Co-op who help us get cool sponsors like them.
If you want to support Cinemajaw, the easiest way to do so is by leaving us a review wherever you're listening to this podcast.
And while you're there, click subscribe. One extra button helps us out tremendously.
Until next week, I'm Rye the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt Kay.
And keep on jawing about the movies.